Observation is probably the greatest skill an artist can have. If you're constantly trying to observe things, then you can learn how to make things using only your mind. Thinking about things like color, form, perspective in your day-to-day life is going to influence your understanding of art and make you a better artist even without the act of drawing. And it's why I think that, technically speaking, an adult who has never drawn anything before could probably pick up a pencil today and start drawing and very quickly become better than someone who started drawing as a child or teenager, because adults are extremely good at observation. However, this doesn't happen all that often because good observation also comes with a curse. The more observant you are of your lack of skills, your flaws, and how little experience you have, the bigger the gap will appear to be. When you have a clear goal, the gap is very observable, and any reasonable person would look at this gap and say, well, I'm not doing this. This is hopeless. Judging by this, I'm never going to make it. I didn't have a talent to start with, I don't have the time, and actually I hate drawing now. This sucks. And it's very difficult to encourage someone who can observe this gap. You're telling me to keep working at it, and all I can see is the abyss. Why don't you just tell me how to get to the other side? Because we have been taught you do something, and when it's done, you get a result. And that's just not how creativity works. So it can be very daunting to be told, keep at it, when nothing you're doing seems to narrow the gap. So maybe you start copying people. They're already there, so maybe they have a solution. Or maybe your taste is not good enough. Maybe it's better focus, clear goals, better tools, and all of this is good to do. You are developing your skill of observation, but over time it also feels kind of pointless, because you have further developed what exists at the horizon where you one day could be, but the gap is still the same, because the truth doesn't make any sense. Do the work. It's not thrilling to create work for yourself, situations where you're failing, falling short of every goal, and every failure might feel like you've only learned you're actually more distant from your goal than you had previously thought. So you make things that are garbage, and how are you supposed to be satisfied with making this your process? Just do it. Sounds like you're telling me, keep making your garbage. And, well, I'm tired of making garbage. But this doesn't have to be a bad thing. By all means, you should try to enjoy the process. Have a fun time in the abyss. But it won't always be fun, and doing it for yourself can seem incomprehensible when nothing seems fun anymore. Or when everything in the world is telling you that you being yourself, having fun, is a recipe for disaster. Just do it can become a very intimidating sentence when this one thing you're doing next, this is going to determine your future. This is going to be your one-way ticket to the other side of the gap. It will determine your art style, career, income, popularity, who you are, and how others perceive you. Just do it is not easy, because this is going to require a lot of planning, one quick move that neatly fulfills all of these anxieties, the one thing that will remove the gap. But when you are focused on only wanting to narrow the gap, you are forgetting something. You're going to make a lot of things. No one gets good instantly. Being good is a process that comes from having made a lot of bad things. But all of these things are connected. There's not one single drawing you will make that is independent of anything else. And being aware of this long string of connections that needs to be made before you can get there can also be really frustrating. Making things, doing work, even when it turns out bad, provides you with the confidence that this is something you can keep up with. You can do work, and there's going to be more work. You are going to make more things. And narrowing the gap can only be done by doing a lot of work, not that one single thing that's going to fix everything. So you will make a lot of things that you look back at and think of as failures, mistakes, and wrong turns, and being able to enjoy that journey is absolutely the best way to get there. And eventually you will start making things you're happier with. Things that might still suck, but at the very least it means something to you. And you might then one day be happy. You might be satisfied with your work. You might find yourself suddenly at the other side of a gap, not even having realized it. And then you find new gaps to narrow, new goals to fulfill, more work to be done. And suddenly, just do it doesn't seem like that big of a deal anymore. It's not working up the courage to do the one thing that your future depends on, that one and only thing that'll ever matter. Just do it is something you've done before. You've done a lot of doing it. We can see how connected everything we draw is to everything else. We can see the patterns. We are more observant than ever. However, Don't become a fortune teller. It's very easy to start basing your future behavior on avoiding previous things that you have failed. I should avoid doing this because I'm bad at it. I should avoid saying anything because I might look stupid. In fact, I always look stupid. I should never go outside. It's very easy to develop a general sense of anxiety about things that you regularly do if you can also fantasize about all the ways this could go wrong. That's right, observation can also be a living nightmare, because you have seen similar patterns before that led you to this conclusion, so it would only make sense. And just do it is not a reasonable answer at this point. Just do it. Can't you see how just do it is going to cause me to die? However, consider this. Just do it is never going to work if you think that your anxiety or your worries are actually helping you. Just do what you like, draw for fun, and just do it will feel like poison when magical thinking can predict all the ways in which this will never work. Doing something is very much real, and magic is not. Doing things leads to natural circumstances, and the future is not something we should focus on. We shouldn't confuse our goals, the horizon at the end of the gap, for a prediction. And we can see the gap. There are a lot of things we can imagine waiting for us there, but this is not what matters. It's not a big deal. You're going to make more things. Just do it won't always feel right. It might feel like it's coming from the perspective of someone who can't possibly see what you're struggling with, especially when doing things seems impossible. Until given enough time, you have observed years of effort doing things in spite of it seeming impossible, and how effort has led you to open your mind to new things and become better at your craft, where you were able to adapt to your circumstances. Observation is a skill, and sometimes it requires continued years of effort only to be able to see things we might have forgotten. The most frustrated I've felt with art has come out of situations where I just haven't been drawing, and people telling me, just draw, only made me feel more frustrated. It made me feel like no one could understand where I was coming from or why I struggled. And this is not a personal flaw. Even the most optimistic people can feel this way. It's very understandable. And it's only through continued effort that you learn nothing else can replace it. Not the finest advice, teachers, or inspiration can overcome action. And that is strangely reassuring. To do what you want, you have to do a lot of work. Just do it can be encouraging when you are observant of just how interconnected everything is, that nothing exists separately from anything else. You realize that the fate of one action is to spur 1,000 more, and even every action you take now comes from an action before that. It's something that just do it doesn't quite capture. It's something a bit too difficult to transmit from person to person. An observation can deeply change how you perceive the world around you. Everything begins and ends with the mind, but not all observation comes from the actions of the mind alone, and through effort, we can finally observe that.